Here we have our good place to start upgrade kit from EasyGamer. We've spent a ridiculous amount of time doing our homework and doing our research on what components we feel you really need to start building something that is quite future-proof. The three things we have in this kit here would be the Gigabyte Z170 XP SLI motherboard, which you see here, Corsair Vengeance LPX DDR4 RAM, 1 8GB DIMM, and the Intel i5 6600 processor. Now, let's start behind the reasoning. First, let's start with the main component, which is the motherboard. With a motherboard, you can get away a lot cheaper if you're doing a build now, but we really recommend rather spending the extra money and going for a mid-level board such as this one here. It's the Gigabyte Ultra Durable series, which lasts amazingly. I personally used one which is now 10 years old and it's still running in a daily setup, which has not given me a single issue, and all my other boards from different manufacturers from that generation unfortunately has already died. The reason for this board in this kit is it's very backwards compatible and it's very future compatible. If you want to look at the details here, what you've got for backwards compatibility is you've still got a PS2 port to be able to connect to old keyboard and mouse. You've still got older display connectors if you're looking to use the onboard graphics, and you've still got the non-PCI Express, the original PCI slots on this board as well, which helps a lot for backwards compatibility with older add-on cards, older screens, older keyboards and mouses. Something to keep in mind, the board is an ATX size, so make sure you have a case that can take an ATX board and not a M-ATX. Because of the lots of expansion slots in this dimension, the board is quite long, but will fit in most of the cases, which is available from us as well. The chipset of the board is it's a socket 1151, which is the 6th generation lower end i7s and i5 support. What's nice for, if we go to the other side of the spectrum in the future compatibility, is you've got a M.2 slot here, and it's not just a SATA M.2 slot, but it's actually a 4-lane PCI Express one. This means it has up to 32 gigabits of bandwidth, and it can support the onboard seriously quick SSDs. They are unfortunately quite expensive, but the biggest difference you can make to a computer's performance is a super quick SSD, and it does support up to the 80 length, which is currently the longest ones available on the market. It also supports dual channel DDR4. Dual channel means if you get one random now, you can add another one later, and then you'd actually double the memory bandwidth of the system. It has got 4 slots, so it's nice for expandability. If you add one now and another one a little bit, 60 gig, you can always double it later to 32. It's also got every possible header you can imagine for connecting other things to, such as it's even got a connector here for old printer port. It's got a connection here for 2 front panel USB 3 ports as well. It's got all your internal HD audio connectors, everything that you'd expect from a board of this quality. Now, next thing on the future compatibility is you'll recognize the blue USB 3 ports there, but there's one red port on the Type A sockets, which is the standard one which we're familiar with. That red one is a USB 3.1, which is double the bandwidth, so that's a much quicker connector, which in the future will definitely come in handy. And this tiny one here is one of the most special things on this board. It's one of the first boards to actually come standard with a USB Type C connector, which is in effect the connector that will be replacing micro USB, and that's also a USB 3.1. So it's super quick speed. It can also deliver a lot more power than USB 3, and we expect a lot of the phones and mobile devices to be switching over to this standard, as it's much better for charging. Apple have already started doing that with the MacBooks. On the inside here, if you want to have a look, we don't just have 6 SATA free ports here, but the SATA free ports are arranged next to each other with another little slot there. And this is SATA Express. So 2 SATA ports plus the other one counts as 1 SATA Express connector. Now this is the new standard which will be coming to SSDs, which instead of the 6 gigabits bandwidth, which is already limiting the current generation of SSDs, you can now get up to 16. So you've got almost 3 times the speed of your normal SATA connectors. At the time of making this video, this isn't available on market yet, but we expect them to arrive soon, and they'll make a huge difference to the performance of the PC itself. Then the 3 PCI Express 16 slots is a nice thing. So you can run SLI, you can run Crossfire, you can add in a few graphics cards here. For the most part, typically people would just use one, but it's nice to have the option. And it's also got a very advanced audio amp, which is completely separated. This little white line here, it's actually on a separate board that's isolated from the main motherboard to prevent any audio interference. So if you're an audiophile, this board is quite a nice one to have there as well. So moving on from the motherboard, let's go to the RAM. The basic kit comes with one 8GB DIMM of DDR4 2400 MHz Corsair Vengeance LPX RAM. It's a very nice RAM. It comes with a very nice heatsink. Comes with all the instructions actually written onto the DIMM, which is a nice thing because you sometimes lose those for what to set up in the BIOS. It has the speeds, the voltage, everything you need to set there. It's a very nice. We do recommend rather getting an extra one. 8GB is enough, but there's a lot of applications where 16GB is nice to have. Then onto the CPU. Now this is one where a lot of people ask us a lot of questions. Why did we go with an i5 and not an i7? And that's mainly for a reason that it's a common misconception. Intel has different performance levels, but each performance level is based on the wattage. So this, for example, is an i5 performance level, but it's a 65 watt chip. To put this in perspective, this is a 6600. You can also get a 6600U, and then it's called an i7 in a laptop. But that laptop processor is actually a 15 watt processor, which is only about a quarter of the performance of this 65 watt processor. And if you go to the higher end, you get the 6700K. There you get another little leap up in performance. You get a 91 watt processor, but as a base spec, it actually doesn't go up to that 91 watt. It's actually still closer to what this one's ceiling is, but the K in the name means it's unlocked for overclocking. So it just gives you the ability to overclock it more and then get to that higher wattage. But if you're not looking to overclock, this one is, it's 4 times the performance of the normal common laptop i7s. You do get a 45 watt i7 class in laptops as well, but that is on the more expensive side laptops. And if you do want to rather go for a laptop, make sure you get one of those and not one of the 15 watt processors. In terms of value for money, this thing is brilliant. It can basically run anything up to quite large graphics cards. It's not really a restraint for any of the current setups. And it's on the 14 nanometer process, which one of the big advantages, but it does look a little bit weird, is that you can actually get away completely with the standard Intel cooler, which is actually quite a small little cooler for the CPU. But because the processor is so efficient, nothing more is needed. If you want to go for the 6700K though, then a bigger cooler is probably a good idea, as soon as you start overclocking, you drop off on the efficiency curve and you end up generating a lot more heat for the per performance that you're getting. But yes, we feel this is an excellent place to start if you're looking to upgrade a computer. The nice thing with everything here is, with what's available today, this is about as future compatible as you can get, while still maintaining compatibility with a lot of your older devices, and doing it at what we feel is the best value point in the market.